How greetings, fellow lords and ladies. Well, our look at Game of Thrones Season 3 now continues on with the episode, The Rains of Castamere. So, beginning, outside the walls of Yunkai, Daenerys Targaryen and her commanders plan an attack on the city. Her newest captain, Daario Naharis, suggested a plan using a lightly defended back gate. A small group can infiltrate the city and open the main gates for the rest of the army to invade. Though Jorah Mormont is skeptical of both the plan and Daario's loyalty, Daenerys is convinced to try when she asks Grey Worm if he trusts Daario. Upon being encouraged to speak his mind, he says he does. Daario also touches her on her hand, flirting for her to favor him. As the captains depart, Sparrowson asks to go along, but Jorah reminds him that the Queen's Guard place is at the Queen's side, regardless of his pride. That night, Ser Jorah, Daario, and Grey Worm sneak into the city and fight their way through the slave soldiers guarding Yunkai. There are far more soldiers than Daario anticipated, much to Jorah's irritation, but it seems that the three are evenly matched. Barely. A few hours later, an impatient Daenerys paces in her tent, asking Barristan how long a sacking of a city usually takes. Jorah and Grey Worm finally enter, covered in distant gore but grinning wildly. Yunkai is defeated. Daenerys is elated, but asks after Daario, who is still absent. After a suspenseful pause from Jorah, Daario strides into the room and kneels before the Queen. He presents Yunkai's torn flag and triumphantly says the city is hers. Anyway, beyond the wall, north of the wall, Samwell Tarly and Gilly continue on their march south, after barely escaping an encounter with a White Walker during which Sam actually managed to kill it using a dragonglass dagger. Sam tells Gilly that they are a considerable distance west of Castle Black, but this isn't a problem, which means they are close to the Night Fort, the original headquarters of the Night's Watch, which was abandoned centuries ago as the organization's numbers dwindled. Sam explains that he plans to get them across the wall using a secret sally port, which leads right into the Night Fort. Gilly is amazed that Sam knows so much history just from reading books, insisting he is a wizard, much to Sam's delight, and is awestruck when she finally catches a glimpse of the wall. Meanwhile, in the Gift, Bran Stark and his group have passed far enough north that they have left the Seven Kingdoms proper and entered into the Gift, a stretch of land south of the wall which was gifted to the Night's Watch thousands of years ago by Brandon the Builder, from which the Watch draws support for its material needs. The Reeds are puzzled, because the gift possesses good arable land, but the countryside is empty. Bran explains, to Osha's discomfort, that wildling attacks coming over around the wall caused most of the small folk to flee the gift over the centuries. Meanwhile, the Watch's diminishing numbers mean they don't really need that much support from the gift anymore, explaining why they haven't encountered any brothers of the Watch working the lands either. Bran's group takes shelter in an abandoned mill to get out of a thunderstorm. Nearby, Jon Snow and the wildling party encounter an old man who lives alone at a small farm where he breeds horses for the Night's Watch. They plan to attack him and steal his horses and gold, but Jon insists that the old man is no threat to them. Orella and Tormund intend to kill the man so as to stop him from alerting the Night's Watch to their presence. However, when the party attacks the farmstead, Jon surreptitiously hits a rock with his sword, alerting the old man, who flees. Jon also strikes Ygritte when she tries to shoot the fleeing man with an arrow. While in the mill, Bran and Jojen discuss how they plan to cross the wall, but Rhaenyra spots the old horse breeder riding nearby. After the old man is captured by the wildlings, Hodor, scared by the thunder, begins yelling, which threatens to give away their location to the wildlings. Bran uses his warg abilities to enter Hodor's mind and cause him to pass out. Outside, Tormund moves to kill the old man, but Orella tells him to have Jon do it instead to prove his loyalty. Jon is ultimately unable to kill the innocent man, and instead Ygritte kills the man with an arrow. Realizing that Jon is still loyal to the Night's Watch, Tormund orders his men to kill Jon. Tormund restrains Ygritte to stop her trying to help Jon, and soon after Jon battles with Orell. At the urging of Jojen, Bran enters the mind of Summer, his direwolf, to aid Jon. Summer and Shaky Dog kill two wildlings threatening Jon as he battles to the death with Orell and finally kills him. With the last of his strength, Orell wargs into the mind of his pet eagle, which swoops down and attacks Jon, clawing him badly about the face before he beats the bird off. Jon then jumps to mount a horse nearby and escapes, leaving Ygritte and heading back to the wall. That night, Bran asks Osha to take Rickon, who would be the heir to Winterfell if anything were to happen to Bran or Robb, to Last Hearth, the home of House Umber, while he, Mira, and Jojen head through the wall in search of the three-eyed raven. Osha promised to look after Rickon and orders the Reed siblings to do the same with Bran before she, Rickon, and Shaggy Dog depart in the dead of night. In the Riverlands, onward to the twins, Robb consults with his mother about attacking Casterly Rock. Robb claims that it is a dangerous move, but time when his castle is taken away from him, the Lords of Westeros will realize he is not invincible. Catelyn points out that the plan requires the cooperation of Lord Frey, and in case reinforcements arrive at King's Landing before the castle is taken, the Stark host will be destroyed. She suddenly examines the map, and finally says in a harsh voice, "Show them how it feels to lose what they love." And finally, Robb Stark's army arrives at the Twins, the castle seat of House Frey, for his uncle Edmure's wedding. And during Lord Walder Frey's insults directed at him and his wife, Robb makes a public apology to Lord Frey's daughters and granddaughters for breaking his promise to marry one of them. Frey accepts the apology and offers the Starks and their men his hospitality. That night, Edmure is introduced to his bride Rosalind Frey, discovering much to his belief that she's a beauty. The wedding and the feast that follows it are quite celebratory and lively affairs, with all the participants in high spirits. Edmure is currently in love, and his attentions are focused solely on his bride. As the celebrations reach their height, Lord Walder calls for the bedding ceremony. Robb agrees, and the bride and groom are carried off to their wedding bed. Rosalind carried off by the male guests and followed closely by Edmure, who was collected by the Frey women. Brendan Tully, having drunk too much wine, excuses himself from the celebration to find a tree to piss on. After they leave and the festivities begin to wind down, Catelyn becomes suspicious when she notices Black Walder Rivers close the banquet hall doors, and the musicians in the gallery begin playing the Rains of Castamere. The song commemorating House Lannister's decisive and brutal victory against their rebellious house Reign of Castamere years ago. Walder rises to make a toast to Robb, and Catelyn, seated beside Lord Bolton, notices that the latter is wearing Maelendr's clothing. Realizing they are in a trap, Catelyn slaps Roose across the face and screams a warning to Robb, but by then it is too late. Lord Walder signals his men to attack. In what becomes known as the infamous Red Wedding, Lothar draws a knife and repeatedly stabs the pregnant Talisa in the stomach, killing her unborn child. Talisa collapses to the ground as chaos surrounds. Before he can react, Robb is shot by the musicians with crossbows several times and falls to the floor. Numerous other Stark men are killed by the crossbow bolts or set upon by Frey soldiers. Catelyn is shot by one of the musicians in the back and falls to the floor. Outside, Arya Stark and the Hound, having arrived at the Twins in disguise, are turned away by Frey guards at the time the massacre begins. Arya gives Sandor the slip and sneaks past the gate guards, only to witness Frey men kill Stark soldiers in Greywind, Robb's direwolf. She makes a desperate run for the castle, but is stopped by the Hound, who tells her that it is too late. When Arya won't stop, Sandor knocks her unconscious before carrying her out of the castle to safety. A wounded Catelyn crawls to safety beneath a table as Walder motions the soldiers to cease their slaughter. Walder mocks Robb and he limps to his dying wife. He holds Talisa in his arms as she dies. Catelyn sees an opportunity and limps out from her hiding spot to seize Walder's cowering young wife, which are used from under his table. Catelyn holds the knife to the girl's throat and threatens to kill her if Walder does not negotiate an end to the attack. Walder refuses her, recalling the previous betrayed oath made that Robb would marry his daughter. She begs that take her hostage and that Robb, who merely lingers spun heartbroken beside his wife's corpse, be allowed to leave. He questions why he agreed to such terms, to which Catelyn responds by swearing on orders both to Tully and to Stark that if he does not let Robb go, she will kill his wife. Walder chuckles and nonchalantly responds, "I'll find another." Robb sends and utters, "Mother," as Roose Bolton, who had fled the hall when the massacre began, seizes her up, whispering, "The Lannisters send their regards," before stabbing him in the heart. Robb maintains eye contact with Catelyn as he collapses to the floor. Mad with grief at the death of her firstborn son, Catelyn cries in anguish and kills Walder's wife, fulfilling her promise. Now catatonic with grief, she stands there and accepts her fate, allowing Black Walder to slip up behind her and viciously cut her throat. She falls to the floor with a thud. Ugh. So let's take a look at some notes surrounding this episode. The episode is named after the song The Rains of Castamere, the unofficial anthem of House Lannister and Tywin Lannister, which refers to the destruction of House Reign of Castamere after their rebellion against them. The song was heard in Blackwater, and Darkwing's Dark Words, and his backstory was explained in the previous episode, Second Sons. King's Landing and all of its associated characters and storylines do not appear in this episode, to focus primarily on events of the twins. This makes it the first episode not to have a single scene at King's Landing. The episode doesn't exclusively focus on the twins, though the Blackwater focus exclusively on King's Landing. As the Daenerys, Jon Snow, Bran, Sam, and Arya's subplots make short appearances. The Dragonstone and Greyjoy storylines didn't appear in this episode. There was a two-week break between Second Sons and the Rains of Castamere due to the Memorial Day holiday on May 26 in the United States. Episode 9 of Season 2 aired over Memorial Day. It took a slight dip of TV ratings. So HBO opted to just take the week off for Season 3. George R. R. Martin found the Red Wedding, which takes place 2/3 of the way through the third volume, A Storm of Swords, to be the most difficult and upsetting scene to write in the first 5 novels of A Song of Ice and Fire. He wrote the chapters leading up to the wedding and then skipped it, completing the rest of the novel before going back and writing the chapter the event itself takes place in, as he could not bring himself to write it any earlier. This is the first episode of the series in which no member of the Lannister family appears. Author George R. R. Martin revealed that he was hoping to play in one of the casualties of the twins, but his schedule prevented him from doing so. Catelyn tells Roose Bolton that there was no bedding ceremony at her wedding because Eddard forbade it, saying he didn't want to have to break a man's jaw for stripping his new bride. The books explicitly state that there was indeed a bedding ceremony at Eddard and Catelyn's wedding, though it's possible that Catelyn should be lying to Roose in the TV series out of modesty. Jojen tells Bran that even the wargs among the wildlings beyond the wall can enter the minds of humans. This is only partially true. The book explains that it's not so much that they cannot work into humans, but that they will not. Entering into the mind of other humans is considered to be a heinous abomination. Even so, it is very difficult for even experienced wargs to attempt to enter into the mind of another human, though they rarely, if ever, try to, and is considered an impressive display of Bran's power that he is able to do so despite his youth and inexperience, though the person whose mind he entered was feeble-minded. Note that Hodor reacts with sadness when Bran mentions Old Nan. Hodor is Old Nan's great-grandson and only living relative. Actress Margaret John, who played Old Nan in Season 1, died only 2 months before Season 1 began to air, though all of her scenes had already been completed. The character doesn't appear during the second book, however. The writers decided to retire the character out of respect instead of recasting the role. Thus, in the TV series canon, she quietly passed away between Seasons 1 and 2. This marks the first mention of Jaehaerys I Targaryen, who reigned some 2 centuries prior to the series. In the books, Jaehaerys II was the father of the Mad King and the son of Aegon V, making Jaehaerys II the nephew of Maester Aemon. Jaehaerys II has been removed from the TV continuity, appearing to simplify the relationship between Daenerys and Maester Aemon. Thus, in Baelor, Maester Aemon tells Jon that Aerys II was his brother, Aegon V's son. If Jaehaerys II was removed from the TV continuity, this would make Jaehaerys I the first and only king to ever have that name. Dragonstone and King's Landing appear in the opening credits, but not in the episode. In the books, Bran Stark and his companions take refuge in the abandoned town of Queen's Crown, where their paths intersect with the wildling raiding party that Jon Snow is accompanying. Queen's Crown does appear on official maps provided in the HBO Viewer's Guide for the TV continuity, but the actual identity of the ruins that Bran hides in are not stated in on-screen dialogue. Queen's Crown lies about 25 leagues south of the Wall, roughly 75 miles or 120 kilometers. Thus, the wildling party traveled a considerable distance south after they initially scaled the Wall, as indicated by the fact that the Wall isn't visible in the background of these scenes. On-screen dialogue doesn't outright state this, but the idea is that Tormund and his followers didn't want to directly follow the Wall east to Castle Black, because it might be spied one of the sporadic patrols along the top, or a messenger coming from the Shadow Tower, etc. Thus, their plan was to travel far to the southeast to avoid detection, then loop around and attack Castle Black from its southern and least defended side. Robb says that Catelyn begged him not to send Theon to negotiate with his father. Actually, Catelyn never objected to send Theon as an envoy on behalf of Robb. She only disapproved of the idea of forming an alliance with Balon Greyjoy and the North Remembers. In the novels, Catelyn indeed objected to send Theon to the Iron Islands, much more firmly than she objected to the ally with the Ironborn, and Robb didn't listen to her in respect of both matters. When Robb's direwolf Grey went killed in his kennel, trying in vain to knock the door to his cell open, it would have been difficult to train the actor dog to bang on the door. So when viewed from the exterior of the cell, it is actually Swordmaster C.C. Smith kicking the door and kicking hay around underneath it. This is the first episode in which the end credits play in total silence. This episode was nominated for 2 2013 Primetime Emmy Awards, a sitting rating for a drama series, and outstanding single-camera picture editing for a drama series. It ultimately did not win. This episode won the 2014 Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation Short Form. The Season 2 episode Blackwater won the same award the year before. Season 1 was nominated differently. Instead of selecting a single episode for Best Dramatic Presentation Short Form, all of Season 1 was nominated in the separate category, Best Dramatic Presentation Long Form, and it won the award. Afterwards, it was decided to shift to nominating an individual episode from each season in the short form category. Therefore, the win by the Rains of Castamere makes the third year in a row that Game of Thrones has won the top award in which it was nominated at the Hugo Awards. Nice. So, yeah, this is definitely, hands down, one of the most memorable episodes of the season, if not the show overall. And, yeah, I think that's all I'm going to say about it. So, yeah. So, overall, I give The Rains of Castamere 5 Iron Thrones out of 5. Well, anyway, tune in tomorrow as we take the final episode of Season 3, Mysha. So, until then, remember everyone, winter is coming.